Why do we have to take these people? Why are they our problem? They're Dutch. They should get sent back to the Netherlands where they belong.
We don't want you here. We never wanted you here.
But I have good news for you. You don't have to worry about the cheap exploited labor rising up against you anymore, because now that you're in America, you'll get to be the cheap exploited labor. If you were middle class or upper middle class in South Africa and you come to America, you're poor now. Like, really poor. You're not gonna have maids and gardeners and personal servants that you can pay $15 a day for. Now you get to be the cheap labor. But by all means, please come to America and experience the American capitalism that Elon Musk's been raving about to you. You'll probably love it.
Well, aren't these just the healthiest looking refugees I've ever seen? The most nourished, the most well kept, cleanest, most well-dressed refugees I've ever seen.
What? Ladies and gentlemen, white Americans do not like white South Africans. Oh my God. Did y'all see the news? The Afrikaners, the Boers, the Dutch, the descendants of colonialism in South Africa, they reached in America. 59 of them, okay? Yeah, DJT, give them refuge. They are here. And then there's a video. I'm going to show it to you where this man is like, welcome to the land of the free. That's not the point. The point is white Americans are not happy.
This video is for the white Afrikaners who are coming to the United States. I think you've already landed here. And I know that some of the folks who met you at the airport told you, welcome, we're so glad you're here. Most of us aren't glad you're here, okay? We don't want you here. We never wanted you here. And furthermore, I noticed they're gonna settle you in Idaho, Ohio, and North Carolina. I will tell you they're not our finest states, so they're a good fit for you. I understand that many of you are farmers, and I've seen a lot of people say, oh, that's great, we need more farmers. Sorry to say we don't. We actually need farm workers because we've deported most of them. So if you can, put your picking hat on and think about, picking produce, that's largely probably what you're going to be doing here because I hear you don't have a lot of skills. I would also say that you're not going to have to hold just one job, but probably 2 or 3 to make up for your quality of life that you had back in South Africa. There will be no servants working for $2 a day. There's none of that here. So you're the servant who's working for $2 a day. So enjoy that. You're gonna have to pay for your health care, and ordinarily, because you're a refugee who's being discriminated against, you would go on Medicaid. But guess what? The Republicans just cut Medicaid. So I don't think you're going to have that option for healthcare. So maybe you'll do without. I don't know. And honestly, I don't care. I did notice that the Episcopalian Church had a program with the government where they would, excuse me, they would resettle and help, refugees resettle. They find you all to be so onerous, they terminated the partnership with the government. And they said, yeah, we won't be resettling those folks. Other things that you need to know about. While we are 58% white here in the United States, that's not going to last much longer. Within the next couple of years, we're going to be the minority, which will be fun for you because that's what you're used to. Interestingly enough, we have a ton of Latinos. We're the 2nd largest Spanish-speaking country in the world. So for you, if you could stop speaking that dirty, guttural, whatever it is, German, French, Dutch thing that you speak, that Afrikaans, nobody wants to hear that shit. So you can speak English or you can speak Spanish, which is really the 2nd language here. In terms of other things that you need to know about, the black people in this country, they don't get fucked with, okay? I know that there's a long legacy of colonialism and all kinds of stuff happening in your country, but our black folks have sort of been through the fire, if you will, and they're not going to be fucked with. So you're the minority here. Enjoy. I really hope you like your time here. I'm going to bet my ass that you're going to be booking it back to SA probably within the next 12 months. Have a great day.
Are we going to be looking at like a bullying situation between white Americans and white South Africans now? Because white people have come out to tell the new refugees that have arrived in America that are from South Africa that, hey, don't be comfortable thinking you're here to have a good life. So white South Africans thought you're going to come to America and be equal with us? No, baby. You are about to be our maids. Ah! Jesus Christ. Holy Ghost fire. Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. Oh my God, this is so hot. Welcome to my channel. My name is Natskona Esther. If you're new here, hi, welcome. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, like, comment, and share. Let me know what you think in the comment section about the Afrikaners, the refugees that America just received. Recently, I did a video in that whole y'all. DJT, this nonsense that he's doing, the American people can be deported and yada yada, the cleansing that he's doing, he is gonna wake up and bring in immigrants that look like him. And together with Elon Musk, they brought in the Afrikaners. Apparently, they've been discriminated against in South Africa by the black people. But the big point is, white Americans are not happy. Guys, I thought white people stick together. East or West, skin is best. Me, I thought white people don't care where their skin tone comes from. They just welcome. White Americans are 10 toes down and 5 fingers down saying, welcome to America. This is not the land of the free. Y'all done colonizing South Africa. Y'all about to be our housemaids and farm workers. Y'all about to be cotton pickers.
Those rich white South African immigrants are going to get the same grace that MAGA gives the current immigrants in this country that are being deported. Get the fuck out of our country. We don't want you here. Go back to where you came from. Because they are stealing our money. They're not working. They're going to sit around on their lazy white asses. And Trump is offering up our federal dollars to pay for their existence for the next year. And I don't know how much longer. And they're not working. So they're not contributing to our society or our way of life or our health or anything like that. They're just taking our money. I mean, we had immigrants, hardworking immigrants, that contributed and worked $100 billion every year in federal taxes and just their hard work and dedication to the building of this beautiful country. Now we got some lazy white South African rich bitches stealing our money. No grace from me. We're not going to make it comfortable. In fact, if we can find out where those planes are landing, the ones that are coming up, where these people are living, I'm not going to make it comfortable. We can't make it comfortable. They're stealing our money.
Why do we have to take these people? Why are they our problem? They're Dutch. They should get sent back to the Netherlands where they belong. I don't want to have to learn how to speak Dutch just so I can order a taco. Look at what they did in South Africa. You know, these are bad hombres. The only job they know how to do is owning the farms that their great-grandparents stole.
To all of the South African Afrikaans refugees that are coming to America soon, I just want to let you know, as someone whose wife is Afrikaans, who's been to South Africa multiple times, you're gonna have a bad time. There's no white genocide happening in South Africa. You have crime that's happening as a result of racism-fueled generational economic inequality, the same thing that's happening in America. We're just a couple decades ahead of you on the unchecked capitalism timeline. But I have good news for you. You don't have to worry about the cheap exploited labor rising up against you anymore, because now that you're in America, you'll get to be the cheap exploited labor. If you were middle class or upper middle class in South Africa and you come to America, you're poor now. Like, really poor. You're not going to have maids and gardeners and personal servants that you can pay $15 a day for. Now you get to be the cheap labor. But by all means, please come to America and experience the American capitalism that Elon Musk's been raving about to you. You'll probably love it. You know, what do I know? There's probably very little chance that you'll end up going back to South Africa in a year or two after realizing how overpriced and up America is. I wouldn't even worry about that as a possibility.
So South Africa's own government is even coming out today and telling Trump, if you want to take on these refugees, that's on you. But just so you know, none of them have been properly vetted. A lot of them have been involved in protests that are pro-apartheid. And on top of that, these guys are actually claiming that they're being persecuted for being white. I don't know if you know a whole lot about South Africa, where Elon Musk is from, but the apartheid just ended not very long ago. If you don't know what that is, it was mass segregation. South Africa's government also came out and added that it's really hard to be a refugee of persecution when you're amongst the most highest earners and highly educated in the entire region. But in my personal opinion, this kind of gives me remnants of Operation Paperclip, what the US government did after World War II. They got a little over 1,500 German scientists and high-ranking officials from the military, Hitler's military, to come over to the United States so they could learn from them. Now, I'm no mathematician, but 2 plus 2 equals 4. What Trump's been doing here in the United States as far as deporting individuals, they've all been brown people. And now he's more than willing to bring thousands of white people claiming they've been persecuted by brown people without even fully vetting them. The answer to this simple mathematical equation is Trump wants more white people in the United States. If it ain't white, it ain't right. And that's literally Trump's mindset. You can't prove me otherwise.
Trump's acceptance of Afrikaners as refugees into the United States is an assault across many fronts. It's an assault on the global and the US refugee system. It is an assault on South Africa and US relations. And it is also an important signal to the world about where the US stands on questions of race, on equity. This is fundamentally a message Trump is trying to send, not so much to the world, but to the American population, that white people are being persecuted around the world, that Christians are being persecuted around the world, and that he is the savior of those people for the United States and globally. This will hurt South Africa in some ways. It's certainly going to affect trade. It might affect the reputation, but I think most of the world knows that this is a fiction, this is an absurdity, and it is deeply, deeply offensive on many, many levels.
Well, aren't these just the healthiest looking refugees I've ever seen? The most nourished, the most well kept, the cleanest, most well dressed refugees I've ever seen. I've never seen such stunningly healthy, good looking refugees in my life. Thank God America offered them refuge from South Africa. Thank God. They look like they could not have even stood another day there.
These are the first group of white South Africans who've been fast-tracked into refugee status. The Trump administration made a big thing about cracking down on immigration and suspending the refugee resettlement program. So questions are being asked, and why has such an exception been made for this group of people?
White people with less than $100,000 and that own a red hat. Make sense of this for me. America first, but make sense of this for me. The front half of a centaur that's running this country, there's a good joke about Elon being in the back half with a puppet, is currently expediting refugees from South Africa to America with short and long-term housing while you're still poor. Before they helped you, like anybody with less than 100 grand is poor. You're still poor. I know you can, there's different levels. You're still in the group that is not their friend circle. Probably never will be. Likely will never be. Does it hurt or bother you that this group that's putting America first is now putting South Africans first, who, by the way, got there from where? Not America. They're actually Dutch, French, and German colonists. Make this one make sense to me. I feel like you can't just say, like, they're refugees, they need our help, because if that was the case, is it different because they're white? Just say that then. Just say that.
Sending private planes to pick up 8,000 Caucasian South African refugees when we're kicking people out that are in the middle of their immigration proceedings here in the U.S. now. Literally having people show up for their final steps of their immigration process and having them arrested, detained, and deported. Doesn't make any sense to me unless
white South Africans are now given refugee status in the US, and as somebody who comes from a country that has been hosting white South Africans for the past decade now as they're seeking refuge, I just want to tell you, and you can ask Australians and Kiwis about this too, because white South Africans have been moving in massive numbers to Australia and New Zealand, so they know what I'm talking about. When white South Africans move to white majority countries, which the US is, they start thinking that because it's a white majority country, that it's a safe space to say inflammatory things about black South Africans.
So what's the difference between the South African refugees coming here and everyone else coming here looking for the American dream and a better life? Really, what's the difference?
Make this make sense. Trump wants to get rid of all the black and brown immigrants in this country, but yet he wants to import white refugees from South Africa.